Hey, Lauren, we're going live any second now. Who are you going to do your shout out to?
My husband, Seth!
Husband Seth, here we go. Hey guys, today we have another awesome guest. Lauren Aboulafia is a talented, multi-talented writer, actor, director, and animator based in Los Angeles, one of my cool favorite places. She recently won Best Animation at the LA Independent Woman Film Awards for her short film Superscar, which is based on her own traumatic birth experience. And today she joins us to discuss how she has turned trauma into art. Not drama, but trauma. Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Awesome. See, I loved our discussion before we started, and we're like so happy. And I'm finding out all these other things that you do and that you make the world happy. So let's now we got to bring it down a little bit. Okay, let's talk about trauma, and specifically let's talk about your trauma and how you turned your trauma into art. So first, tell us, what is the trauma that you want to talk about?
So my first child was born at 30 weeks. It was an emergency everything. It was abdominal hemorrhaging from a fibroid that attached to a bowel, and he spent 2 months in the NICU. And then in one of the first months in the NICU, he got meningitis and almost died.
Wow.
So the NICU is just a really traumatic place in general.
Mhm.
So it was traumatizing. It was traumatizing.
For all the non-parents that don't understand NICU, go ahead.
The NICU is a place it's neonatal support for babies, and it's a miracle place, but it's a very intense place, and it's traumatizing because you don't know if your kid will make it out.
Yeah, I mean it's scary enough just being in the regular ICU, but in the NICU it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the beeping and the sounds and things you don't understand, and oxygen and lots of tubes. So it was traumatic. It was really traumatic.
Were you there a lot of the time or most of the time that he was in the NICU? Every day?
Every day.
Yeah. Spending hours?
Hours. I mean, entire days. You lived there. I mean, there was something that became like the second home, and in some weird, abstract universe that you would like this as your second home. But it became the place that you would, know everyone, and the nurses and the social workers and the doctors. So it was it was 2 months of absolute hell, but it was only 2 months, which is unbelievable to think about.
Did you meet other families in there also?
Oh yeah. You meet lots of families, some families that have already lost babies, some that are fighting, some that are on their way out that you get jealous of. You're like, oh, you're leaving you meet all sorts of people. So it really becomes this other home, and I think where the trauma came is that you didn't know what would happen. Every day they talk about it like the NICU tango. You step forward and then you take 2 steps back. So you're like, I'm okay. No, we're not. And that kind of push-pull, just your nervous system can't really handle that, when you're in it.
Right.
I had tools and breath work and breathing and therapists, but at the end of the day, the nervous system was on high alert most of the time.
So for you personally, like 30 weeks is early, definitely.
Really early. Yeah.
And then at what point, was there ever a point you said, oh my God, I don't know if we're going to make it, and we're not going to make it, I am going to make it?
Sure. Oh, for sure. The meningitis a month in, it was beyond. I mean, it was praying to the heavens. I mean, people from all over were praying, monks and Catholics, Christians, Buddhists. I mean, I had every religion, because we really didn't know. It was a very bizarre turn too, but that's the NICU. Yeah. That it can turn like that, because they're like, at least my baby was negative years old. So you just being in a hospital, you catch things.
So how do you know, like at what point do you go, it's going to be okay and we're going to be able to make it out?
I don't think I knew that for a long time, which I think is part of the trauma, because even when we made it out, we left on oxygen. So even then there was still there was a celebration in the leaving, right? I mean, I even put a little graduation outfit on my kid. I mean, it was like, we are out of this joint. Right. But we came home on oxygen. So there was still this sense of, right? And then you're also carrying trauma because you just went through the trenches. It's not really funny, but it was something that made me feel more connected to people, which is the pandemic. We all got more aware of germs, right? I think the washing of the hands and like this, I'd been doing that. I'd been so like, no, you got to wash that again. And like the kind of OCD of it all because of the NICU.
Oh, wow. So at some point, things started to even out and get like normal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how far into it was that after being home?
Yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. It's so long. It really took a long time. I think until he was 2 years old. I'm not kidding. I think
Wow.
because I wasn't introduced into motherhood. I don't know if there's ever a normal, but I was really far from normal. And so you kept feeling like, oh, what's that? What's that? As opposed to it's a baby. It's a baby. Mine was always more intensified. And so I think, just time and processing and art really has really taken me to the other edge, and also connecting with other people. I think being of service and connecting with people who are also been traumatized or gone through something similar in terms of the NICU, there's a sense of, oh, there's a service here I can do. I don't have to hold on to this in a vacuum. I can help other people.
Just out of curiosity here, does he remember anything, or is he just like normal baby? It's like, I grew up, I've been here all the time.
That's a great question, and it was a little intense. My mom recently got sick from my little munchkins and had to be on oxygen. And my mom was like, "You should tell him like this is more normal than he thinks it is." And I'm like, "He's 4, but he was on oxygen with tubes and no recollection. There was no like I vaguely no.
Yeah,
It'll be
nothing like that.
interesting when that moment of his story happens and how it becomes part of his identity,
Yeah.
you
So,
know?
do you even now return and go to some of the NICU reunions and participate in those?
I did, but the pandemic really slowed it down. I mean, I wanna be on everything I can do. So it just slowed it down because I wanna volunteer, I wanna be on boards at Cedars. There's changes I'd love to make. So, yeah, there was a couple things, and then the pandemic. There was a couple like, they have events as a Cedars NICU. It was Cedars Sinai.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and I would like to continue to do so. I also do a lot of this kind of work, but with more like maternal mental health now, or Hand to Hold, or Postpartum International. So, this sort of like discussion, but with these types of foundations.
Yeah. Okay. So now we understand the trauma.
Right.
And now for a lot of people, they want to take their trauma and push it down. They want to bury it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
no, not Lauren.
No.
Lauren decides, you know
No,
what?
I wanna bring that right back up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanna just live it again. No, I think that I think that the pushing down, even for me who has processed so much, there's gonna be something that will trigger you and surprise you if I feel like, and if you haven't done your work, it could like, you could lose it,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some processing that definitely should happen if possible, with help of like licensed people.
Mhm.
So in terms of how I transitioned into making it something that was creative and art, I
Right.
felt like that really, really helped me process it, because you got to see something that was so hard and you got to relive it, but in a way that felt like there was a distant hand. Like, I'm not like reliving, so I'm re-traumatizing myself, but processing in a way, especially with animation, where it became my abstract brain of holding all these things in my mind got to be out, got to be
Yeah.
expressed.
So how did you decide this? That you decided like, I'm going to turn this thing that happened to me into a piece for others, and it's going to be educational. It's going to be funny. It's going to be
Right.
what? How did you do it?
Educational, make women feel, mothers that go through this, not feel alone, destigmatize some of this, like everything's like great, you just have a baby and then you're good. So basically my husband had the idea to animate it. I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought, well, you don't animate this kind of thing, but in a lot of ways he was right, just because, to really like to make it live, which one could do as well, is really intense. There is something about the animation that got to be more abstract. So it was my husband who said, you should animate this story. And then over the pandemic, I taught myself this animation.
Uh-huh.
It was a program, but I taught myself how to do it. I got obsessed. I would think about it all the time. I would think about how to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. I loved
Can,
it.
can I just tell you, like, out of the pandemic, I think so many people discovered talents and passions that they didn't know they had or at the time. And it sounds like your passion, you were already into the art, but you brought this out
Yeah.
because of the pandemic,
Yeah. There's
right?
something really empowering too about doing something like that. That's all you. There's
Yeah.
something like, at first, I mean, then of course there's other people that help, but like that feeling of like, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to write my story right now. Like then you take ownership. You're not waiting for someone to like create something. You can do it.
Is trauma something you can look back on and actually everyone expects, I think, trauma to be like, World War II, we're in the trenches, there's nothing funny.
Oh my
Did
God. I found so much humor.
did you?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like what?
I mean, it was not funny in the moment, but
Yeah.
I mean, being called, I think that my daughter was very sick when it was my son was like, in retrospect, quite funny. Just like in terms of like the sex of the kid is completely wrong. I mean, maybe this isn't like the funniest right now because it's all just so messed up. But in animating that, I was just like, it's like this intense moment where it's like, you have to come now to the hospital. Your daughter's very sick. I don't have a daughter. So that's like, it's these things that I like kind of find the humor in of like, that was nuts. Yeah, no, I really did. I don't know if you watched the short, but I definitely, when it's been screened, there has been laughing, and it's always that interesting moment of like laughing and then crying and then like being like feeling weird that you're laughing. But I purposely did that. I mean, that's how you heal.
Do you ever like write parts and you go like, okay, this is really tragic, but I'm gonna put a little funny thing in here and see if people laugh, and then you sit there and you watch and you're like, are they gonna laugh at
Yeah.
this?
I mean, it really did happen. I have a huge scar, which is why that animated short is called Super Scar. It's like my entire stomach. And I went to Equinox on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. And anyone who lives in Los Angeles knows it's kind of a scene. Very beautiful people.
Yep.
And I was in the bathroom and I watched two women like go to like, the steam room. And I opened up my towel and I said, I am a warrior.
And how did that go over?
But I said it more to myself, so they didn't really hear me. So they just walked right by. So it was like this kind of turn of like, so it was more of a moment for myself, So it's like, so there was, there's humor,
Yeah. So that was your Xena moment.
Oh
the
yeah,
warrior
yeah. I
princess.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's that. I mean, there just is, or different ways of distracting each other, became funny, and just, humor, you just get through it with humor. I mean, you have to.
That's awesome. What's your next project going to be? You think you're going to keep going with this?
Yeah, my next project's going to be basically, so the Super Scar animation was my story.
Okay.
And the show is going to be more about other, like many women's stories in a support group. So the leader of the show will have her own life, and we'll see about her life and her children and how how she's like trying to pull it together, but everything is basically going crazy. And then how she like decides in her 40s actually to quit her successful real estate business and lead this mom support group.
You know what? Something that I want to focus on just for a second is, everyone thinks, NICU, they think the woman, they think the child. Talk about the partner. Talk about, in this case, the husband.
The husband goes through they're going through all of it too. So when I created the show, I definitely have men join the group. And sometimes I've been in groups in Los Angeles where the men are there, but a lot of the groups are predominantly moms. But this is why I wanted to create the show. This is a new type of group. This is the mom support group that, you don't go to, where you talk about the real stuff. You get really into it. So men will be there because they go through it.
Do you ever like get out of this group, or is it a lifetime thing once you go through it?
That's a great question. The leader will be the constant, but like
Hmm.
women will like as their kids get older, but you can stay in, you could stay in talking about kids for a while. So, but then new people will come in. So the show could continue for a long time, meeting people, hearing different stories and different birth stories. And yeah,
I guess I'm talking about even in real life. You've been through this experience. I
right.
haven't, other people haven't, but is it something that you've now bonded to this group and you get like a badge that says, I am part of the NICU group?
Oh, I feel like that. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Oh
stay in
yeah.
touch with everybody?
There's a NICU, like we went through the NICU, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What,
So yeah.
what do you want people to learn from your trauma that you've been through? Like, what's the one thing you go like, I learned this, and as far as life goes, I'm going to share this with you so you don't have to go through it, or so it's easier. What is it?
You can overcome the hardest thing in your life. People are resilient,
Hmm.
and you can get lost in the minutia of life, but when you go through something like that, you quickly see what's important. And if you can hold on to that in when time passes and it's not as acute, you're not right in it, life becomes more simple and less rat race. I mean, it's like, what is it all about?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I really do. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know because I haven't been to war, but it sounds like the same sort of thing one might learn from having been to a war.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never, look, the other thing is that control is an illusion. And I think that for most of my life, I thought I could control. I'm a hard worker, A type. War, the NICU,
Hmm.
you don't know what's going to happen, but that is life. So it is true. So there is this living in the okayness of being in the unknown too, which is another kind of lesson of it all.
Okay, I think that's a good way to look at it and to be in life in general.
Yeah.
You know, don't let it just beat you down.
I mean, it's so funny. I don't know why this just came to me, but I just felt like saying live, love, and Lexapro. Because Lexapro also really helped me. That
Okay.
was no joke. Like anxiety, like if you need to get through something that's that traumatizing too, like get help, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I learn so much from these shows, and I'm just learning from you, just listening to you and looking at you, and just like you're so effusive and happy and everything. That's a good way to live life and be.
A lot of Lexapro, really. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Let's do something. I want to play a game with you. Let's
Okay,
play
great.
some this or
Okay.
that. So you are the next this or that
Okay.
participant. I've only done this with two other people. We're going to learn more about you on the lighter side. Let's maybe say let's talk about babies and about NICUs and stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question. You got two choices. You can only pick one. You cannot say both or I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. So easy question. Maybe stroller or baby carrier.
Stroller.
Okay. Diapers or pull-ups.
Diapers.
Really? Play dates or solo playtime?
Solo playtime, but it ends up being play dates.
Okay. Cooking dinner from scratch or ordering in?
Ordering in. Oh
There
my
you
god.
go. What would you rather do? Family game night or movie night?
Movie night.
Okay. Breastfeeding or formula feeding?
I did both, but goddamn, that formula was easier.
Yes, I can only imagine. Indoor play area or outdoor playground?
Outdoor.
Okay, at nap time, rocking chair or crib?
Rocking to the crib.
Okay, rocking the crib like
You're
that.
like, this, you're not playing this game fair. Oh,
Okay, baby monitor or checking in frequently? That's a good NICU
both.
question.
Both.
Both.
Sorry. My
Yeah.
bad. Both. I'll be
No,
like, oh, again.
okay, I'll let you go with both on that one. Okay.
Oh, well,
Um, yeah, okay. So how about let me see, baby bathtub or sink?
baby bathtub.
Okay. How about baby swing or bouncy chair?
Baby swing.
Really? I gotta tell you, man. I would go get a bouncy chair right now and put it in my living room and bounce like constantly. I'd
Oh
love
my God,
bouncing up
that's
and
so
down.
cute. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, mommy yoga or stroller fitness classes.
Mommy yoga.
Yeah, mommy yoga is
Oh,
awesome. Have you
yeah.
tried goat yoga, baby goat yoga?
Oh, I've heard about it, but no.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't know how that actually works, but that would be an interesting thing to actually try out,
Yeah,
baby
yeah,
goat
yeah.
yoga. So let's make sure people can stay in touch with you, find out about all your shows and your cool things that you're doing. So your Instagram, I'm going that one's LA,
Yep. Los
uh,
Angeles.
Los Angeles,
Aboulafia. Yeah.
Aboulafia. I like that one.
Labalaf.
La,
Labalaf.
la. That is a lot of la going on right there.
That's like a la la la.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
So,
God.
Lauren, thank you so much for being on. I
Thank you
learned
for
from
having me.
you. I love talking with you. And this has been an amazing discussion. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you so much.
So, everybody else, we'll see you next time on A Funny Way of Looking. Click that like button if you're there. Bye.